My client's property got robbed and I figured out who did it. This is probably going to be a three-parter and there's a little twist at the end, and I really want to know what you think this person's intentions were. I have my son doing some weed whacking because the owner's out of state, he doesn't live here. Money is like super tight for him. He got an astronomical estimate for weed whacking this 5-acre property, and so I said, listen, my son's got a weed whacker. He could use a couple bucks on the side and he'll come do it. So we've been coming up to this property every few days and weed whacking this property section by section. The other day we came up, and when we drove up, we noticed that the door to this shed was wide open. Now, it wasn't open when we left. The property's listed for sale, but again, I haven't gotten any showing requests, so I knew no one else had been up here. When I looked in the shed, it was pretty much empty. Now, there were 2 huge generators in there, some really nice ladders, and a lawnmower. My first thing that I did was I messaged the contractor. I had a contractor up here doing some work, building a staircase and installing flooring. I knew he was talking to the owner about doing a trade for removing some of the junk that had been left behind. You know, there's some junk over there. That's my son. Hi. So I messaged him and I said, hey, I see you took the generators, but you didn't take any of the junk. When are you coming back for the junk? And he's like, I didn't take the generator. So now I know someone else has come onto the property and taken this stuff. Call the homeowner. And I asked him, hey, did you give these away? Did you sell these? He says, no. Well, they're gone. And I said, there's only a few people that knew that they were in there. These are very heavy items. This is not something one person can just load up in a Prius. It takes a couple of guys, and they probably need a truck. The game plan was that I was going to go talk to the neighbors, see if they noticed any vehicles coming onto the property. And I asked the owner, do you want me to file a police report? And he said yes. Now, the only people that knew that stuff was in there was me. I certainly didn't take it. The contractor, we know he didn't take it. The neighbors wouldn't know that stuff was in there, but they also don't come on the property. Everybody just sticks to themselves out there. These are 5-acre parcels. No one's coming onto your land to borrow a cup of sugar. And the last group would be the guys that his son had come load the pods. Son had a bunch of friends come load up these giant pods filled with stuff that was in the house, in the garage, and in the sheds. I said, well, they would be the only other people who would know. So I said, please call your son and ask him for the names and numbers of everyone that he had on the property. And you're never going to believe what happened next.